Hi guys. So I just received a new order of fabric paints, and I thought, rather than showing you each paint separately and telling you why I like them, why I chose them, I thought I will paint on fabric straight away. And so I just kind of very quickly created a pillow with different textures, different paints, different colors, different finishes. I don't know if you can see the shine of it. I'm going to get a close-up of the pillow in a second so you can see. So while I'll be painting that pillow, I decided to talk about all the paints and how to use them and how you can kind of incorporate them into your fabric painting and why I like them so much. So I hope you're going to enjoy the video. If you have any questions regarding any kind of things that I used, any fabric painting, how to set, how to use the brushes, what brushes to use, please put them into the comment box below. And then if you've got any suggestions for the future paintings, or what would you like me to see, ask that question as well. In meanwhile, check my blog on handpaintedclub.com and my Instagram handpaintedclub, so you can see all the latest creations that I'm doing. I'm actually painting a few cool t-shirts for clients now, so you can see what's going to come out of that. I'll try to make little videos of them as well, so you're going to see new things coming on those pages soon. But stay with me now, and if you want to see how to paint this pillow very quickly and using those paints, stay tuned. Thank you. So now, as you can see, I got you on a close-up. We've got my prepared pillow case with a piece of canvas in between the layers of the material, so nothing transfers on the other side. Ready, all the paints are shaken and opened, so I can start. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to probably, I won't use all of the paints, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to draw something floral probably, and I'm starting with one of my favorite colors. That's why I ordered it again, which is the turquoise, and it's a part of the metallic shimmering range. Absolutely beautiful. And as you see, nice coverage. That's why I like those paints. You can use whatever brush you want, as long as they suitable for acrylic paints, then it will be perfect for the fabric paints, because fabric paints are acrylic paints with extra binders that help the paint to bind into the fabric, as well as become soft, so they're not too hard on the material, so it doesn't feel like, you know, acrylic paints can get that harshness to it. So as you see, nice turquoisey metallic finish, and then I'm going for the yellow color, and you can really blend it as you go. I love working wet paint into wet paint, so you can get nice gradients, as you see, just like that. And this is going to be inspired with like a floral pattern, but what I'm going to do, I'm going to use the 3D paints as well. And what 3D paints will give me, they will give me more of that freehand effect, so it will look very textured. You will see that in a second. Create a soft looking petals. The idea is it's all kind of designed to be quite abstract. So I want to start with the inspiration from nature. Floral patterns are really big at the moment in fashion illustration, and this is my main focus. This is what I do. I paint on t-shirts. I designed fashion patterns, so that really hit home because I absolutely love flowers. So I thought I will show you something inspired with that mood. And as you see, the paints are beautifully opaque, but if you want to work with them on a thinner level, you can use them as a sketching tool as well. And as you see, I'm working with the same brush. I kind of know how to use this so it doesn't transfer into the paint, but I just like that soft blending that I get straight away when I use the same brush. Of course, I wouldn't go with the colors that clash completely, but because I'm using orange and I'm using yellow, they complement each other beautifully. So there is no problem with using those two colors together with one brush. And I'll try to show you that in a second, but because the orange is completely flat, it's matte, and the yellow, it's got beautiful sparkle to it, you just get nice highlights, so the textures are lovely. Let's go for a bit of brown, and again, because it's the same color family, I'm going to use the brown with the same brush. But of course, if you're more confident with the smaller brush, you can use whatever brushes. So if you want to use clean brush, changing it all the time, there's no problem with that as well. Whatever works with you. I always say, however you like, however you feel confident with your painting, you use exactly the same with the fabric paint. And what I love about those paints is that you can use them in a nice thick texture as well. You can use them with them stencils. You can use them with screen printing. And as I mentioned before, if you ever find that you want your paint to be slightly thicker, there is a product that I showed you before. I'll show you that again. It's a thickener paint that you can just mix it on the side. I wouldn't mix it in the bottle because it dries much faster and it thickens the paint too much. So just put a small amount of paint into a pot. What I like using those glass pots after the chocolate desserts. And this is going to be a perfect palette for mixing your paint with the thickener. And as you see, I'm stamping it a bit. What I'm going to do as well, I'm going to use a bit of stencil in a second. But let's just, before I do that, I'll kind of carry on. Now, one of the paints which I absolutely love from the new order is called Jet Black, and it's a black color, but there is a bit of blue, and I don't know if that shows really well. I'll try to show you. But basically it's a black, but it's not a flat black. It reflects colors on a blue spectrum. There's a touch of like a tealy shade to it, so it just really lifts off everything. So it's all about playing with textures. It's all about experimenting with your textures. And as you see, you can use the paints quite thickly. You can use the paints in a very thick brush strokes, or you can just kind of spread the paint and just kind of get more of that very fine edge. Just doing a bit of outlining using that paint, but what I really want to do, I want to use the 3D paints for the outlining, so I'll show you how you can use that in conjunction. I'm kind of going to do it slightly against the rule, but I'm using it on a pillowcase, so that's fine, that's okay, and this is just for you to show. But basically the rule with using the 3D paints, if you're combining 3D paints with your normal Setacolor, with the liquid pots, you have to set the pots before that, so wait for the paint to dry. So if that was the moment I wanted to stop and I said, you know what, this is what I really like, and I just want to add a bit of 3D dimension on top of it, just wait for it to dry, set it with heat, 5 minutes on the highest setting available for the fabric, with your iron, and then when it's set, just add the 3D paints. The reason why you do that, the 3D paints don't require heat setting. They self-set themselves. You just have to wait 72 hours prior to washing them next. So, but otherwise, they're just perfect for setting themselves. They don't require to be heat set. They just air dry within 72 hours, and then you can wash them as normal on 40 degrees inside out, like so. Okay, now what other colors do we have? I will wait for the middle paint to dry. Okay, I'm going to show you glitter, and this is absolutely beautiful. As you know, I love my glitter, so I'm going to take another brush, and this is the diamond glitter. And what it is, it's a glitter that's got that multi particles, very different colors, different spectrums. I've just used this as the droplets, or as a kind of highlight on the fabric. And initially, when you apply it onto the fabric, it gets that milky layer. That milky layer, that kind of whitish hint, will dry completely, and it becomes transparent. So you only stain with a nice multi-colored glitter on the surface. And as you see, there is a bit of blue, there is a bit of green to it, and it's amazing. I love glitter, and I love working with it, you know, kind of combined with matte surfaces, because that just kind of makes it pop out even more. And I like that you can work with those paints in a dimension as well. So if you want slightly more of the paint, like this part here, that I use the yellow shimmery metallic paint, it will dry that way, so it will stay raised. So you will kind of you will be able to touch the paint, you'll be able to feel the thickness of the paint and color. And I'm not sure how well you can see it, but what I'm going to do, I'm just going to very gently tilt it for you to see. So hopefully you can see what I mean with the glitter. So we've got some matte surfaces, we've got some sparkling finishes. Now let's go. I started with those dark colors here because I wanted to layer the surface. Normally I would wait for that surface to dry completely. I'm going to use the duochrome paints and just very gently, oh yes, it does come out beautifully, very gently apply it as a highlight onto the darkness, and hopefully you can see that it shifts from white via purple onto pink. It just creates that nice layered texture onto the design. So that's the That's the pink one, and I've got blue. I've got all the colors. There is 4 different colors. There is a gold one, and there is a green, there is pink. But in this unboxing, I wanted to show you the paints that I ordered. I won't be showing you all of them because I don't think there is time for it, or there is a need for it. But as I said, if you have any questions about any paints, any other techniques, please leave me the comments, so I'll be able to answer those ones for you in the next video or in a comment, whichever way it will work the best. But as you see, we're very slowly starting to build nice textures. Let's go for the blue one as well, and I'll use the blue one just as a highlight on those greeny elements that I started with, so you will just get that nice iridescent duochrome. And then let's just use a small amount onto the darkest parts, so it shows best. Then the duochrome, they called, let me just see how they called, pale opaque, pale blue and pale pink I'm using. They work best on the darker surfaces. That's why I applied the darker paint prior to painting. We've got a bit of plum color. Do I want plum? Yes, let's go for plum. And I'll use the plum. This is the metallic plum. I will use it just to blend and shadow and shade the colors into each other. And as you see, they dry quite quickly, but if you're working dark in dark, if you're wet in wet, they will blend really nicely into each other. So I always like to use the glitter paints. I've used the multi colored one. I like to use the glitter paints as a kind of medium to blend into the metallic paints. And if you've seen me doing shows live last year, that was in NAC, you would see that we were having so much fun actually painting very complex looking shapes, but in no time, using stencils at that time. But I just wanted to show you how you can use them freehand just by blending color into color very quickly. So we've got something that started with the floral decoration with like a petals of the flower, but as I told you, I do want to go onto the abstract route with it. So I just kind of took it into that very dynamic and very shimmering surfaces. Okay, if I wanted to add slightly more of the highlight, I ordered myself. I don't use a lot of it, but when I use it, it looks amazing. It's a white pearl finish, so I'm just going to use this just for that stronger defined highlights. So if you would like to paint animals, or if you would like to paint human beings, what I mean by that, if you wanted to use this as a highlight on eyes or hair, it's a perfect color. It's a nice pearlized white. It's got that proper pearl finish to it, but it just shines in a white metallic finish. So now I'm going to use a stencil to create extra texture. So we've got that nice hand painted, hand drawn flower, and I want to add extra texture, extra detail using that bubble stencil. So I'm going to use a stencil brush, stippling brush, and I'm going to press the colors through the stencil around the flower, just to create that new dimension, new texture. And I'll be using green turquoise with a bit of yellow. I'm using dots because I'll be using the 3D paints in a second, and I'll be using them as a pearls. So I just want to work within the same. So I just want a bit of that soft texture, as you can see. Let's use a bit of that pink iridescent. What I love about those paints, they will work really nicely together. And when you use them, when you use the iridescent paints, you'll get more of the subtle effect, more of that kind of paralyzed. It will just kind of shine with the glossy metallic finish to it, so it just kind of disappears slightly more. So we're getting a bit of greenery. Let's just. I'm using a flat stippling brush, and I'm using the pot that I showed you. I took it away so it's easier for me to work, but I'm just using it to get product into the stencil, into the brush. So as you see, I'm not really trying to feel everything too precisely. I'm just kind of going into it. And let's go for that white that we've got. And I just, off the camera, I'm just dabbing the brush slightly deeper. There is not much paint here, so I can just go straight away. But with the stencils, just be careful not to have too much of the paint lifted off. And as you see, it just kind of highlights it beautifully. I really like that. I hope you enjoyed this video. This is the first time I'm doing it, so hopefully you enjoy it as much as I do. But as I said before, please, if you have any questions, if there is something that maybe you didn't understand, or maybe there is something that you wanted to ask me, let me know. Let me know, and I will happily implement it in the next video. Oh, look, so we're getting nice texture into the fabric. I'm going to take our orange paint, if I can find it. I'm going to take that orange paint as well, so we can add just a bit of that orangey dotty hints. You've seen my t-shirt when I did the introduction for this video, and this was exactly the paint and exactly the technique that I used. It. I designed the stencil because I wanted it in particular shape, but that was exactly the technique. So as you see, I'm just blending the paint through the stencil to get that nice looking texture. And I really cannot wait for the next step, because this is probably one of my favorite details. I bet you can hear police cars, or maybe that's an emergency cars pulling. Something probably happened outside, so if it's very light, I do apologize. Okay, and then let's go for a bit of yellow. So it's about having fun. It's just about adding colors one into another. There is no right, there is no wrongs. It's just about enjoying layering textures. And you know, if there is, like, as you see, I made a little mistakes here. You know, the stencil starts lifting the paints and it starts showing through. I'm not really worried about that because I will decorate it further with the 3D paints, so I will be able to conceal it. So it's more about enjoyment than being too precise. Of course, I do design t-shirts for my client that are meant to be very precise, that are really meant to be sharp and look clean and crisp. So then I avoid making mistakes like that. But of course, nothing is perfect. You know, if you ever do that, there are techniques to do it. But hopefully you can see how the colors, I love how the glitter picks up all the, I've got a little bee, a little fly on my picture. As you see, that looks amazing. Okay, now using the 3D paints that I told you about, I'm drawing lines and extra little details into the flower, into the petals. So as you see, I'll show you that later, it creates nice 3D texture. I'm using gold color now, and as you can see, there are some beads on the flower as well. You will see that in a second, how I painted those ones. And as you see, I use the 3D paint, the 3D liner in metallic gold, and I'm dotting little dots as well. What I love about those paints, they sustain that nice 3D texture. They self-set themselves. What that means, they need to dry for about 72 hours, and afterwards you can wash them without heat setting. So they just give you that nice dimension and extra texture. I really like how the glitter that I painted before with the brush adds that sparkle, and then you've got the shine of the beads and shine of the 3D lines. So as you see, here I'm painting more beads. It's the same line, it's a Cetacolor 3D, but it's a broad pearl range. What it is, it creates those perfect beads, and as you see, I'm not really paying too much attention how I do them. I just drop them on, and they just form that perfect bead. So very easy. You don't really have to have a perfectly stable hand. And you see, I just made a little mistake, and it still turned into a nice bead. And they stay perfectly on fabric after 72 hours after they set themselves. So it's a really nice, funny extra details, but it really makes the embellishment pop and makes it really special. Now I changed to the same paint but in a slightly different color. I love that paint. This is one of the paints that I haven't used before. It came in that latest order. It's a blue, and it shifts towards a pink and purple when the sun or when the light hits it. Now just a little close-up, or actually the whole picture that you can see. And as you see, all the colors are beautifully saturated, everything ties together, and I'm using those beads as an element to actually make the picture work together. And remember what I told you about using the stencil for the bubbly effect? It really nicely ties into those bubbles that I'm just painting with the broad pearl paint. And here we go, this is the final pillow. I just did a little close-up in a slow motion so you can see how it turned out. I really love the combination of matte paints with the glittery paints, with the metallic paints, then the texture done with the bubbles and the 3D paints. I hope you really enjoyed that process. If you have any questions, please put it in the comments below. Thank you very much, and I'm looking forward to doing the next video. And if there is any suggestions what you would like me to paint, please put it in the comments below as well, and I would really appreciate if you share that video with your friends who love painting on fabric, so hopefully they can get some extra knowledge on how to paint. Thank you very much, guys, and I'll see you soon. Bye.